In the top stories, Minister Dugging says young people must help shape the Federation's future. Regionally, CARICOM's reparations campaign is now calling for decolonization of the Caribbean, and on the international scene, Florida has executed the oldest death row inmate in the state's history. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of July, and I am Jasmine Thomas. First, on the local scene, Minister of Agriculture Samuel Duggins wants the Federation's youth to have more opportunities to take on leadership roles. Duggins was speaking this morning at his ministry's second quarter briefing held under the theme, Progress You Can See, Impact You Can Feel. In his opening remarks, the minister said that under his leadership, young people will continue to have opportunities to take on leadership positions that will help shape the Federation's future.
And I have always advocated that youth deserve their space. And I always go back to one of my favorite poems from one of my favorite poets, Miss Jeanne Williams, a poem she had dubbed 65, where she asks a fundamental question, that if 65% of this country is young people, then why we don't see more young people involved in decision making? And I have lived my time here in public office to ensure that that is corrected. And if you look at the table, it is a true representation of our society, where over 65% of the persons at the table represent the true driving force of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I will continue to do so once given the chance to lead in this capacity.
The Honorable Samuel Duggins. Citizens of St. Christopher and Nevis will not need a visa to enter Spain under a new list of countries announced by the Spanish government. The announcement made on Tuesday places St. Kitts and Nevis among 9 Caribbean community countries whose citizens can enter Spain without a visa for short stays. The visa-free arrangement applies to holders of ordinary passports traveling for tourism, business, or other short visits of up to 90 days within a 180-day period. The other CARICOM countries included are Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago. St. Kitts and Nevis has reaffirmed its support for Taiwan during talks between senior diplomats in New York. The meeting held on the 8th of July brought together the Federation's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Mutuis Williams, and Ambassador Tom Lee of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office. Ambassador Williams thanked Taiwan for its continued support of St. Kitts and Nevis's development, particularly in healthcare, education, technology, sustainable development, and climate resilience. Williams also reiterated the Federation's support for Taiwan's meaningful participation in international organizations. The diplomats also discussed continued cooperation on issues affecting small island developing states. Taiwan's ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis, Edward Tao, and St. Kitts and Nevis's ambassador to Taiwan, Donya Francis, were also recognized for their work in strengthening relations between both countries. On the regional scene, CARICOM's reparations campaign is now calling for the decolonization of the Caribbean as regional leaders continue their 4-day visit to the United Kingdom. A group of Caribbean leaders met with senior clergy from the Church of England on Tuesday. The delegation was also scheduled to meet with British parliamentarians as part of the visit. Commissioner Chairman Sir Hilary Beckles said the Caribbean remains the most colonized region in the world and that the time has come to advance discussions on reparatory justice, decolonization, and self-determination. The Commission also criticized the United Kingdom and other European countries for abstaining earlier this year from a United Nations resolution that declared the transatlantic trade in enslaved Africans and chattel slavery the gravest crime against humanity. And members of the Barbados Defense Force and the Barbados Fire Service have been awarded Venezuela's Hero Medal for their response to last month's devastating earthquakes. The award was presented by Acting President Delcy Rodriguez to members of the Urban Search and Rescue Team who were deployed to the hard-hit state of La Guaira. Barbados's ambassador to Venezuela, Commander Aquinas Clark, praised the team for its outstanding service as it returned home last Thursday. He said Barbados's humanitarian response is also continuing, with a field hospital in Guarenas expected to begin treating patients by today. Clark said the facility will be staffed by 74 Barbadian personnel, including doctors, nurses, and support staff, to provide medical care to communities displaced by the disaster. And now for a look at news on the international scene. Florida has executed the oldest death row inmate in the state's history. 74-year-old Dennis Sokor received a lethal injection Tuesday at Florida State Prison after being convicted of the 1982 murder of a woman he met at a New Year's Eve party. Sokor's execution surpassed another 74-year-old inmate who was executed just weeks ago to become the oldest person put to death in Florida. Later this month, the state is also scheduled to execute an 80-year-old prisoner who would become Florida's first octogenarian to be executed. Florida has carried out 9 executions so far this year, more than any other U.S. state. And now for the weather. Dry air and Saharan dust will remain the dominant features across the Federation, keeping skies hazy and limiting significant rainfall over the next 24 hours. However, a few passing clouds could still produce isolated brief showers. Today's high will reach 33 degrees Celsius or 91 degrees Fahrenheit, while the overnight low will be 27 degrees Celsius or 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight will be fair and hazy. Winds will be easterly at 15 to 30 kilometers per hour or 9 to 18 miles per hour. Seas will range from 1 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. Sunrise tomorrow is expected to be at 5:45 and sunset today will be at around 6:49. That brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jasmine Thomas. God bless you.